Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 2. Dobby's Warning. Harry managed not to shout out, but it was a close thing. The little creature on the bed had large, bat-like ears and bulging green eyes of the size of tennis balls. Harry knew instantly that this was what had been watching him out of the garden hedge that morning. As they stared at each other, Harry heard Dudley's voice from the hall. "May I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Mason?" The creature slipped off the bed and bowed so low that the end of its long thin nose touched the carpet. Harry noticed that it was wearing what looked like an old pillowcase with ribs for arms and leg holes. Hello," said Harry nervously. "Harry Potter," said the creature in a high-pitched voice Harry was sure he would carry down the stairs. "So long as Dobby wanted to meet you, sir. Such an honor it is." "Thank you," said Harry, edging along the wall and sinking into his desk chair next to Hedwig, who was asleep in her latch cage. He wanted to ask, "What are you?" but thought it would sound too rude, so instead he said, "Who are you?" "Dobby, sir. Just Dobby. Dobby the house elf," said the creature. "Oh, really?" said Harry. I don't want to be rude or anything, but this isn't a great time for me to have a house elf in my bedroom." Aunt Petunia's high, false laugh sounded from the living room. The elf hung his head. "Not that I'm not pleased to meet you," said Harry quickly, "but, is there any particular reason you're here?" "Oh, yes, sir," said Dobby earnestly. "Dobby has come to tell you, sir. It is difficult, sir. Dobby wonders where to begin." "Sit down," said Harry politely, pointing at the bed. To his horror, the elf burst into tears, very noisy tears. "Sit down," he wailed. "Never, never, ever." Harry thought he heard the voices downstairs falter. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to offend you or anything." "But then Dobby," choked the elf. "Dobby has never been asked to sit down by a wizard, like an equal." Harry tried to say shh and look comforting at the same time. Heard Dobby back onto the bed, where he sat coughing, looking like a large and very ugly doll. At last he managed to control himself and sat with his great eyes fixed on Harry with an expression of watery adoration. "You can't have met many decent weasels," said Harry, trying to cheer him up. Dobby shook his head. Then, without warning, he leaped up and started banging his head furiously on the window, shouting, "Bad Dobby! Bad Dobby! What are you doing?" Harry hissed, springing up and pulling Dobby back onto the bed. Hedwig had woken up with a particularly loud screech and was beating her wings wildly against the bars of her cage. "Dobby had to punish himself, sir," said the elf, who was gone slightly cross-eyed. "Dobby almost spoke ill of his family, sir." "Your family?" "The wizard family Dobby serves, sir. Dobby is a house elf, bound to serve one house and one family forever." "Do they know you're here?" asked Harry curiously. Dobby shuddered. "Oh, no, sir, no. Dobby will have to punish himself most grievously for coming to see you, sir. Dobby will have to shut his ears in the yard window for this, if they ever knew, sir. But won't they notice if you shut your ears in the yard window?" "Dobby doubts it, sir. Dobby is always having to punish himself for something, sir. They let Dobby get on with it, sir. Sometimes they remind me to do extra punishments. But why don't you leave? Escape?" "A house elf must be set free, sir, and the family will never set Dobby free. Dobby will serve the family until he dies, sir." Harry stared. "And I thought I was hard done by staying here for another 4 weeks," he said. "This makes the Dursleys sound almost human. Can't anyone help you? Can't I?" Almost at once, Harry wished he hadn't spoken. Dobby dissolved again into walls of gratitude. "Please," Harry whispered freshly, "please be quiet. If the Dursleys hear anything, if they know you're here, Harry Potter asks you so he can help Dobby. Dobby has heard of your greatness, sir, but of your goodness, Dobby never knew." Harry, who was feeling distinctly hot in the face, said, "What have you heard about my greatness is a lot of rubbish. I'm not even top of my year at Hogwarts. That's Hermione. he stopped quickly, because thinking about Hermione was painful. Harry Potter is humble and modest, said Dobby reverently, this orb-like eyes aglow. Harry Potter speaks not to his triumph over he who must not be named. Voldemort, said Harry. Dobby clapped his hands over his bat ears and moaned. Speak not the name, sir, speak not the name. Sorry, said Harry quickly. I know lots of people don't like it. My friend Ron, he stopped again. Thinking about Ron was painful too. Dobby leaned towards Harry, his eyes wild as the headlamps. Dobby heard tell, he said crossly, that Harry Potter met the Dark Lord for a second time, just weeks ago, that Harry Potter escaped yet again. Harry nodded, and Dobby's eyes suddenly shone with tears. Oh, sir, he gasped, dabbling his face with the corner of the gold-big pillowcase he was wearing. Harry Potter is valiant and bold. He has braved so many dangers already, but Dobby has come to protect Harry Potter, to warn him, even if he does have to shut his ears into their own window later. Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts. There was a silence broken only by the chink of knives and forks that found downstairs, and the distant rumble of Uncle Vernon's voice. What? Harry stammered. But I've got to go back. Term starts on September the 1st. It's all that's keeping me going. You don't know what it's like here. I don't belong here. I belong in your world, at Hogwarts. No, 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 squeaked Dobby, shaking his head so hard that he is flapped. Harry Potter must stay where he is safe. He is too great, too good to lose. Harry Potter goes back to Hogwarts, he will be in mortal danger. Why? Said Harry in surprise. There is a plot, Harry Potter, a plot to make the most terrible things happen at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry this year, whispered Dobby, suddenly trembling all over. Dobby has known it for months, sir. Harry Potter must not put himself in peril. He is too important, sir. What terrible things? Said Harry at once. Who's plotting them? Dobby made a funny choking noise and then banged his head madly against the wall. All right, cried Harry, grabbing the elf's arm to stop him. You can't say understand, but why are you warning me? A sudden unpleasant thought struck him. Hang on, this hasn't got anything to do with you-know-who, has it? You could just shake or nod. He added hastily as Dobby tilted warningly close to the wall again. Slowly Dobby shook his head. No, not he must not be named, sir. But Dobby's eyes were wide and he seemed to be trying to give Harry a hint. Harry, however, was completely at sea. He hasn't got a brother, has he? Dobby shook his head, his eyes wider than ever. Well, then, I can't think who else would have a chance of making horrible things happen at Hogwarts, said Harry. I mean, where's Dumbledore, for one thing? You know who Dumbledore is, don't you? Dobby bowed his head. Albus Dumbledore is the greatest headmaster Hogwarts had ever had. Dobby knows it, sir. Dobby says her Dumbledore's power rivaled those who must not be known named at the height of his strength. But, sir, Dobby's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. There are powers Dumbledore doesn't. Powers no distant wizard. And before Harry could stop him, Dobby bounded off the bed, seized Harry's dusk lamp, and started beating himself around the head with ear-splitting yelps. A sudden silence fell downstairs. 2 seconds later, Harry, heart thundering madly, heard Uncle Vernon come into the hall, calling, Dudley must have left this television on again, that little tyke. Quick, in the wardrobe, hissed Harry, stuffing Dobby in, shutting the door and flinging himself onto the bed just as the door handle turned. What the devil are you doing? Said Uncle Vernon through gritted teeth, his face horribly close to Harry's. You just ruined the punchline of my Japanese golfer joke. One more sound and you'll wish you will never seen born, boy. He stumped flat-footed from the room, shaking. Harry led Dobby out of the wardrobe. See what it's like here? He said. See why I've got to back to Hogwarts? Is the one place I've got, well, I think I've got friends. Friends who don't even write to Harry Potter, said Dobby slyly. I expect they've just been... Hang on, said Harry, frowning. How do you know my friends haven't been writing to me? Dobby shuffled his feet. Harry Potter must be angry with Dobby. Dobby did it for the best. Have you been stopping my letters? Dobby has him here, sir, said the elf. Stepping nimbly out of the Harry's reach, he pulled a thick white set of envelopes from the inside of the pillowcase he was wearing. Harry could make out Hermione's neat writing, Ron's untidy scroll, and even a scribble that looked as though it was the Hogwarts gamekeeper, Hagrid.